Previously on part 1 of Overlord, a gamer gets stuck inside of his favorite game called Yggdrasil, and now he's creating havoc, although not by his own choice. Ainz Olgaun, the famous guild and now the name of our hero, has started to show its presence in this new world. However, there seems to be some other people just as powerful as Ainz who managed to brainwash Shaltir into becoming a villainous NPC if she wasn't one already. A huge fight ensued in the last episode, and with almost all of Nazarick's money, Ainz was able to bring Shaltir back after killing her in battle. Season 2 starts on somewhere in an unknown dungeon. One of the former legendary adventurers, Rigrid, goes to meet with a huge dragon, who seems to be somewhat acquainted with the world of Yggdrasil. The dragon explains how he can feel that the 100-year event of a Yggdrasil player being transported into their world has happened, and how this time he can sense that the player is evil. He warns Rigrid to stay on her heels and be wary of every movement. I'm not sure that's going to be enough. Our hero, Ainz, on the other hand, is currently working on an adventure mission as Momon. However, as expected, even the craziest looking beasts are too low level for him to even care for. After slaying a lizard the size of a normal house, he returns back to the Nazarick and heads straight for Albedo to hear her reports of the Nazarick plans. Albedo welcomes the love of her life and immediately starts flirting with the Overlord. Too bad Ainz is undead and doesn't, or rather can't, act on his feelings. So he just asks her to show him the report. Apparently, Aura was busy building a dummy Nazarick nearby to trick people. Demiurge was off somewhere creating spell scrolls using blood magic, and Cocytus was readying himself for the first display of Nazarick's power. We'll get to all that later. Shaltir, on the other hand, was not yet fully back to her senses. She was back alive, but the guilt of having to fight her master had taken quite a toll on her, mentally. She was off somewhere in the Nazarick binge drinking. Back at the Re-Estai's kingdom capital, Gazef Stronov is finally beside his king on the council, safe and sound thanks to Ainz Olgaun. Gazef said quite a few good things about the man who saved his life to the king, which is why the king requests that Gazef set up a meeting with Ainz so that he can thank him personally for the act of kindness. Elsewhere in the village of Lizardmen, Greenclaw tribe chieftain Shasiru discusses daily life with his younger brother, Zoriusu. Zoriusu, the wielder of the famous sword Frostpain, is no longer a member of the tribe because he headed out to look for knowledge when he was very young. The lizard had brought back various new ideas, like fish farming, to the village. However, he knew that despite all this, he would still be an outcast. Just as the two brothers are discussing their lives, the sky suddenly darkens, and they rush back to their village. A dark, monstrous entity descends from the sky, declaring itself as the herald of the so-called Great One. It warns the villagers that in 8 days' time, the army of the Great One will arrive at their village and destroy them. Prepare a futile resistance, it declares, and vanishes into the sky once more. After a weird declaration from a literal monster in the sky, the Lizardmen tribe sit down for a council meeting beside their greatest magician, an old lady lizard. The lady, who can only do tier 2 magic, declares that the demon from the sky was in itself at least tier 4 magic, so she suggests that they should probably run. The Lizardmen, however, are reluctant to let go of their self-respect and would rather fight than run away, which is why Zoriusu advises all the Lizardmen tribes should form an alliance to create a large army for the battle ahead. The other Lizardmen of the tribe start bullying Zoriusu for even suggesting such a stupid solution. They probably don't know that Zoriusu is kind of the main character of this season. They were not really wrong too. Long ago, when the world of Lizardmen was plagued by famine, the 7 Lizardmen tribes had gone to war over food. The tribes Smallfang, Razortail, Red Eye, and Dragon Tusk were the only 4 tribes that survived the war, Dragon Tusk being the only enemy tribe surviving the battle. Although the first 3 tribes would probably readily join forces, it was impossible to ask for help from the Dragon Tusk tribe, or at least that's what the Lizardmen think. Zoriusu, however, is still adamant that it's either all of their battle or they die. So he manages to convince the council to let him try to persuade the tribes to join forces. The lizard traveler then heads out on his journey to the nearest tribe called the Red Eyes first. As soon as he reaches there, he's taken to a lonely tent where he meets the leader of the Red Eyes, named Crush Lulu. The lizard woman is unlike anything anyone has ever seen. She was albino. While she hid herself, fearing that others may hate her for her white skin, it comes as a surprise when Zoriusu immediately starts to let out his mating cry after seeing her. Seriously, dude, keep it in your pants for a second, would ya? Zoriusu is so flabbergasted with her beauty that he forgets all about his mission and starts simping out. Within seconds of meeting Lulu, he asks her to marry him. Zarisu is probably a tier 5 sub to Pokemon as well. What a simp. After some awkward moments, the man finally calms down and convinces Lulu to join his cause. Lulu's quite happy to do so because she knows that alone they will all die. After convincing Lulu, Zarisu then decides to continue his journey to the other tribes. However, Lulu suggests that they visit the Dragon Tusks first, as she can send a messenger to the other tribes herself. Zarisu is fine with the idea and heads to the Dragon Tusk tribe alongside Lulu, hidden beneath a literal bush. Elsewhere in a hillside camp, Cocytus receives a huge shipment of magic scrolls from Demi-Yugure with a message to bring overwhelming victory for the Supreme One, Ainz Ol Gaon. Cocytus as well is confident that he will bring death and chaos in the name of his master in the coming war. After some traveling, Zarisu and Lulu finally reach the infamous Dragon Tusk tribe, and surprisingly are led in easily by the guards. The Dragon Tusk tribe's leader, Zenburu, however, is not a rational man. Some might even say that he's a bit too old-fashioned, because he likes to discuss matters only after a fist fight. The lizard leader immediately challenges Zarisu to battle, promising to hear his proposal only if he wins against him. If Zarisu loses, not only would he die, but Lulu would also be taken as a prize by Zenburu. Not sure if the poor girl even agreed to it, but the men have spoken and the battle begins. Almost immediately, Zarisu realizes his physical strength is less than Zenburu, as the heavy-set Lizardmen leader bosses the poor guy around. However, Zarisu has his weapon, Frostpain, basically a cheat code to tons of battles. The sword leaves a freezing effect once it touches a user, and with every attack, Zarisu soon starts overpowering Zenburu until finally the leader gives up. Zenburu then joins Zarisu and Lulu, and the party heads back to the Razor-Tail Lizard tribe, the first place of attack as declared by the evil Sky Demon a few days ago. The place is already filled up with lizard warriors as Zarisu declares the good news of unity among all the tribes. However, there's no time to stay calm and celebrate, as a meeting is already in place. The scouts from the Lizardmen have gathered information that a large army of undead. The army is so huge that even with all the tribes combined, they're still outnumbered 3-1. Zenburu is still confident about the attack, but the other leaders aren't too happy about attacking a larger army. The battle ahead was going to be a tough one. Soon a horde of undead monsters appear for an attack, just as promised by the Herald. The Lizardmen, however, seem surprisingly prepared against the attack. Even with the overwhelming number of attacking forces, the Lizardmen stand strong. It's apparent that the lack of a commander in the undead army has made them much less effective than what they should have been. The chiefs of the lizard villages also summon swamp elementals to help them in the battle, shifting the tide in their favor. The Lizardmen are winning against this massive force. Cocytus, who was given the command of the task to take over the Lizardmen, watches as the army crumbles before the futile resistance of the Lizardmen. Troubled by the idea that he's soiling the name of his master, he calls Demi-Yugure for some advice. However, since the name of Ainz Ol Gaon was never mentioned, Demi-Yugure tells Cocytus to act on his own. Frustrated, the massive ice demon lets his commander, Elder Lich, join the attack against the Lizardmen, and once again, the battle is on. The Elder Lich possesses massive magic power and starts blasting off Lizardmen one after another. It doesn't even have to enter the battleground because of its long-range ability. Zarius, however, comes up with a plan to take down the Lich with his short-range skills. He rides his steed, a Hydra, and races towards the Lich. Sadly, the Hydra is killed, but Zariusu manages to trap the Lich inside of an ice prison using the ability of his sword. With both of them locked inside the prison, the Lich and Zariusu battle to their utmost abilities. Despite the Lich being far stronger than the Lizardmen, Zariusu doesn't give up hope. After much pain and many attacks, Zariusu's victory by surprise attacking the Lich in a fog and driving his Frostpain into the Lich's non-existent brain. With the Lizardmen victorious in battle, Cocytus heads to face and answer his master for his failure. The Lizardmen celebrate victory. Surprisingly so, the threat that seemed Avenger level was not that difficult to deal with. While the whole lizard gang is out celebrating, Zarius and Crush are alone in a tent blushing. Those two are acting kinda sus lately, but they won't be having any fun tonight as Zenburu barges in, wondering if they are having fun, much to their shock. Back in Nazarick, Ainz has gathered all of his guardians along with a new face, Victim, the 8th floor guardian. The demon, who looks like a Pokemon in all honesty, seems to have powers to help them prepare for unforeseen encounters. After encountering the new member, Ainz then turns his focus to Shaltir and tells her that he will punish her later for her actions, realizing that perhaps a punishment could bring her back to herself and rid her of her guilt. Finally, it's time for Cocytus to present his report. The poor demon explains how he was defeated as he underestimated the Lizardmen and their abilities. However, Ainz explains he gave Cocytus a weak army so he could learn to adapt and reapply resources as a leader. As all of Cocytus's forces were low-tier undead, there was no risk for Nazarick. Despite all this though, Cocytus must face punishment. He's to eradicate the Lizardmen from the face of this world. Cocytus, who has seemed to grow from his recent failure, instead asks the Lizardmen to be spared into servitude of Nazarick. When Ainz asks why, Demiugade steps in, proposing it could benefit them to see how governing a new people under Nazarick would work. After all, they were planning for world domination, and governing people was also one of the tasks under it. With a little reluctance, Ainz agrees to the demands. However, he commands them to rule over the Lizardmen with means other than fear. Ainz does seem to have that little bit of human left in him after all. He calmly explains that he wants all of the Guardians to act like Cocytus, and to act for the greater good of Nazarick rather than blindly doing what he asks them to do. A decision he'll regret? Well, we'll see. After Ainz departs, Demiugade states to the Guardians that Ainz intended for all this, wishing they learned to be more independent in their goal of conquest. This guy makes Ainz look like a genius when the poor guy doesn't even have a clue what's happening. In his bedroom, Ainz is happy his Guardians are learning to evolve. For a literal overlord, he seems a bit too innocent. The next day, the Guardians and Ainz himself return to the battlefield in a grand show of force. Freezing the lake, Gargantua throws a massive stone in the center of the lake, and the undead perform a royal procession for Ainz to sit atop the stone and speak before the Lizardmen. This was no longer a normal war. This was now a war in the name of Ainz Ol Gaun. The Lizardmen watch in awe as they see that even the undead army has better and stronger equipment than them. They realize that the battle beforehand was only a test of their strengths, and the real battle would surely see them all killed. Zariusu and his brother head to Ainz as representatives for the talk. Ainz tells them that in 4 hours, Cocytus would come to attack them alone, and if they win against him, they could live peacefully. Obviously, the other two Lizardmen wish to surrender, but there won't be any surrender without a fight. Ainz wouldn't let that happen. The 5 tribe leaders then discuss their new battle plan. They decide on going themselves without their armies, with Crush to stay behind and lead the remaining survivors. As she argues against this, the tribe leaders leave Zariusu to talk with her. Zariusu tries to convince his love that this was the end for them, and he wanted her to live even if he died in battle, which she probably will. Crush finally accepts the fate before them, but demands that he impregnates her as a symbol of their love. And, well, some really lewd things happen. The Lizardmen champions, Zariusu and Zenburu, with Kyukuzuzu and Sukujuju of the Razor Tail and Small Fang chieftains respectively, prepare for battle with Cocytus. During this preparation, Ainz and his guardians enter a temporary base of operations. There in the temporary base, Ainz comes up with a perfect punishment for Shaltir, which will humiliate her just enough to get her back to her former self. He decides to use the true vampire as his makeshift throne as he watches the battle. However, rather than humiliating Shaltir, this act kinda turns her on. Yeah, she's into that sort of thing. While sitting on top of Shaltir, Ainz uses the mirror of remote viewing to watch the actions that the Lizardmen will take. Unfortunately, the Overlord accidentally stumbles on Zariusu and Crush in the middle of their, well, you know what I mean, let's call it a mating session. This is why spying is not quite appropriate. Sometime later, the Lizardmen champions stand ready at the battlefield, and Cocytus arrives to battle equipped in his Floor Guardian gear. As predicted, Cocytus is far stronger than the chieftains and decimates them one by one. The 2 chieftains from the smaller tribes are sliced in half, and Zenburu's head is also split from his body in just a few seconds. Only Zariusu and his brother are left alive. Pleased with their skills, Cocytus asks for their names, and grants them the honor of death by his god-slaying Emperor Blade. The brothers try to apply the same technique they used with the Lich to beat Cocytus, but this time it's much different and they're easily countered. Right before his brother's eyes, Shasiru is killed, and seconds later, in a moment of emotion, Zariusu is defeated as well. Victory in the name of Ainz Ol Gaun is achieved. Later, Ainz congratulates Cocytus for his victory and summons Crush over for a deal. Report and monitor her people for any signs of rebellion against Ainz, and Ainz will revive Zariusu. Crush agrees and Ainz resurrects Zariusu. Ainz shows this unfortunate deed to the Lizardmen, who now worship him as a god. After pledging their fidelity, Zariusu asks for his brother and Zenburu to be returned as well, but Ainz, who suffered a level loss after resurrecting Zariusu, doesn't do it right away. He takes it into consideration, having the Lizardmen keep their bodies safeguarded. While still in the Rayestes capital, Sebas goes to the Magician's Guild to purchase a spell scroll, and on his way back to the mansion stumbles upon a brutalized young woman, who, after remembering the words of his creator, "Player touch me," takes her to safety. The man who threw her away begs Sebas not to, as he will be killed by the 8 Fingers crime syndicate for allowing an asset to be taken. Sebas gives the man money to flee the town as a response. Upon his return, Solution is taken aback by Sebas's care for the young girl. Sebas even commands Solution to heal the girl of her injuries, much to her distaste for humans. When the girl finally wakes up, she breaks down crying for being shown such a level of kindness. All her life she'd been mistreated and used by people, and now that she had been shown such hospitality and love, she's taken aback. The woman introduces herself as Tore and explains that she wants to serve Sebas as a sign of gratitude. Sebas, who seems to have taken a liking to the human girl, orders Solution not to inform Lord Ainz, considering it a trivial matter, but Solution, being a racist, is not pleased with this newfound human love. Meanwhile, Gazef has breakfast with Brian Unglass, who is in a depressive state following his encounter with Shaltir. Not only did the man get beaten up by a girl, but he was also left traumatized after his best attack. The one he worked on for decades was stopped by a mere fingernail. You gotta feel for the guy. F in the chat for Brian Unglass, guys. Let's hope he can pay for therapy sessions. Elsewhere, out in a secluded region, adamantine adventurer team Blue Rose destroys an illegal crop used in the production of a powerful narcotic called Black Dust. The team takes out quite a few of the Walter White wannabes, but the issue's not going to end with the destruction of just one camp. While scouting, Blue Rose member Evil Eye finds a parchment with a code that can lead them to the leaders of the Eight Fingers, the actual masters of this whole Breaking Bad situation going around the Rey Estes kingdom at the moment. Eight Finger is a massive criminal crew with hands in all kinds of criminal activity, from the drug business up to slavery. They do it all. They're like the Elon Musk of crime. Elsewhere, at the same time, the heads of the Eight Fingers discuss the crop burning and even the girl that Sebas rescued. Not sure why a girl is so important to a huge mafia crew, but let's roll with it for now. At the table, Zero, head of the Eight Finger security, promises Coco Doll, yes, that's his name, head of the slave department, that his men will return the girl to their possession. With world domination comes the struggles of maintaining finances, and as Ainz reviews the new world finances, he finds it difficult to manage funds for the Lizardmen budget and the undercover Nazarick agents. His army and men were ever growing, but the resources he had were limited, considering the fact that he had no way of earning money and was only spending it, not to mention the huge amount he spent to revive Shaltir. Narbaral, as Nabe, comes to Ainz in regards to the various ore samples he had brought to do an appraisal experiment, to see which ore from where yields the most gold. He gives Nabe all the money he has left, reminding her to be covert and pleasant to humans for their covers, and silently sulks about the money troubles. Elsewhere, Climb is given a sparring session by Gazef. Gazef knows that Climb is just an ordinary boy with no special skill or ability, nor with the power to ever grow stronger, and yet he's pleased with the boy's unrelenting passion and determination. Gazef notes to his vice chief that Climb's power cannot go past that of a gold-rank adventurer, and his efforts will not change that, but he can still learn from experience. After the spar, Climb goes to meet with his lady, Princess Renner, whom he serves, and is introduced to Blue Rose's leader, Lachias, along with one of the Blue Rose's twin assassins, Tina. Under Renner's guidance, they learn the code they discovered at the Black Dust crop is actually a list of locations. The locations appear to be some major hideouts and storage facilities of the Eight Fingers gang in the capital city. They decide to raid one of the locations, an underground brothel. Meanwhile, Sebas has Tare serve as the maid of the manor. They decide that it's best to hide Tare inside of the house, but the Eight Fingers appear to have quite the reach, and soon Succulent, an Eight Fingers agent, and Constable Safan find Tare in the house as well. The two ask for compensation for Sebas's purchasing Tare despite the anti-slave laws, so as to be pardoned for his crime. Permitting Sebas 2 days to think over their proposal, the two take their leave. Realizing the trouble and the fact that their cover as agents of Nazarick might be blown, Solution messages Ainz to inform him that Sebas may have been straying off their mission, or worse, compromised. Climb heads to an inn, where Gargarian and Evil Eye are having lunch, and informs them that Lachias wants them to be ready to mobilize. As the conversation goes on, Evil Eye informs the both of them of the new adamantine team, Darkness, which is made up of the adventurers Momon and Nabe, with the Wise King of the Forest as a pet, leaving Gagaran astounded by their reported feats. Climb wishes to be capable of such strength, but the duo advises him against it. They explain that it's not worth losing his humanity in pursuit of power. Meanwhile, Brain is running errands for Gazef, who thinks some fresh air would be better to bring the man back to his former self. As he heads into the city, Brain goes past a crowd watching a group of drunk men assaulting a boy for simply bumping into them. At the same time, Climb also goes to the same crowd, but unlike Brain, he moves to stop the matter. The group of men are not at all scared of Climb and continue their assault, but unfortunately for them, a certain man named Sebas is nearby as well. Brain watches as Sebas swiftly moves to the crowd and resolves the matter in one punch. As Sebas walks away, Climb and Brain, both impressed and in awe of the man's abilities, separately follow the butler into an alleyway, where Climb enthusiastically asks Sebas for a quick lesson in strength. Sebas sees Climb as trustworthy and gives him a lesson: how to overcome fear of death. Sebas floods Climb's senses with killing intent, an aura of darkness that empowers all his emotions and renders him senseless. Sebas throws in a killer punch that probably would have killed Climb, but the boy dodges at the last possible instant by overcoming his fear by thinking of Renner. Brain, having witnessed this around the corner, is moved by Climb's ability to overcome intense fear and shows himself as well, asking to also learn from Sebas. However, before Sebas could give another lesson, 5 assassins from the 8 Fingers gang shows up. Sebas takes down 3 of them while the other 2 are dealt with by Brain and Climb. With their attackers downed, Sebas uses a skill to easily interrogate one of them on where to find Succulent and the 8 Fingers. The trio move together out of a grown respect for each other, and move to destroy 8 Fingers in the capital of Riestes. They head for Succulent's brothel, the same place Sebas rescued Tare from. Sebas, Brain, and Climb arrive at the brothel and use 2 entryways, the front door to the main brothel and the side entrance to the underground storage area. Climb and Brain take the latter door while Sebas charges the front. Sebas forewarns the duo that if needed, he will kill opposition inside if he's forced to, with both of them understanding. They only ask that the 8 Fingers leader Coco Doll and Succulent be captured. Sebas easily removes the steel door and knocks away the guards, and comes across Constable Stefan Havish mercilessly assaulting a slave girl for pleasure. Sebas slaps Stefan into a bloody state, and after the constable pleads for mercy with money, Sebas concludes he's unworthy of life and kicks him in half. Brain and Climb stop their opposition and locate a trap door, courtesy of items by Gagaran, leading to the underground storage. While Brain scouts further in, having Climb stand watch, Cocodol and Succulent arrive by a hidden passage in front of the young warrior. Succulent uses his illusion magic to gravely injure Climb, until Brain returns and defeats him with his god/technique. The trio are successful in apprehending 2 of the 8 Fingers, and return to their respective homes. Brain returns to Gazef's home, and the 2 have dinner discussing Climb's progress and Shaltir by name. Sebas returns to the manor only for Solution to be in her Pleiades attire, telling him Ainz is in the next room, waiting to speak with him. Late at night, Zero gathers the remaining members of 6 Arms to kill Sebas, Climb, and Brain for opposing them. Ainz, actually Pandora's actor in disguise, investigates Sebas's possible betrayal with Demiurge, Victim, and Cocytus as witnesses. He orders Sebas to kill Tare to confirm his loyalty. Sebas does as asked by his master, however his attack is blocked by Cocytus. This was all a test. Congratulations, Sebas, you are one lucky man. The real Ainz then arrives, and the Overlord hears Tare's full name, realizing she's the sister of Nina, the magic girl from Season 1, from the crew, the Sword of Darkness. The one that was tragically slaughtered. What a coincidence. The girl that Nina wanted to save was saved by one of Ainz's men. Feeling that he had done justice to the poor girl's soul, he lets Tare live with them at Sebas's request of having her as a provisional maid. Back in the Royal Palace, Renner and the Blue Rose meet to discuss the raids on 8 Fingers. There's one major problem. The Royal Army doesn't have enough men to deal with the entire raid. An international gang was actually more funded and maintained than the Royal Army. The country was in shambles. However, Princess Renner wittily manages to coerce her brother, Raven, to lead his private army to the simultaneous raids of 8 Fingers. After a long day of acquiring materials, aka live humans for Demiurge, Sebas and Solution return to the manor to find Tare missing and a note from 6 Arms challenging Sebas for her freedom. Solution reminds Sebas of Ainz's words, and they message their master of the situation. Ainz, however, is busy with an adventure mission as Momon. My man has been working day and night to earn money for running a country. Ainz calls Albedo and commands her to send reinforcements to help Sebas with the rescue. Although Albedo is reluctant to mobilize the forces of Nazarick for helping out a mere human, she has no choice but to fulfill the wishes of her master. Albedo sends the forces for Demiurge to command on site to destroy 8 Fingers. Demiurge, Mare, and Shaltir arrive to aid Sebas in the rescue. The whole plan would not only act as a rescue for Tare, but there would also be a hidden benefit for Nazarick. After Sebas departs, Demiurge lays out the plan for his Operation Genna to the Pleiades, Mare, and Shaltir. Sounds sus. Meanwhile, in the royal encampment, Climb and Brain team up with the former adventurer Lockmire to raid one of the known 8 Fingers bases. There, they surprisingly encounter Sebas, who was summoned to the same base by the 8 Fingers, or actually the 6 Arms. When Sebas encounters 4 members of 6 Arms, he takes a few seconds to finish them off and the surrounding customers. Solution reports that Zero is not amongst the patrons. Elsewhere, at Hilma, one of the leaders of the 8 Fingers resistance, she wakes up to find her home encased in shrubbery. Mare is there waiting for her to wake up, and just as she does, she breaks her leg to track her away, leaving Entoma to empty the manor. While Entoma is snacking on a human body part, Gagarin has a chance encounter with her and fights the bug maid, thinking she's with the 8 Fingers. Blue Rose members Tia and Evil Eye arrive, and together they overpower and defeat Entoma. Before the finishing blow, the bug maid is rescued by another demon, Jalda Bayoth, who's actually Demiugude, but let's not reveal the secret to the poor Blue Rose adventurers, and taken to safety. The demon then returns, and in a flash, decimates Gagaran and Tia with his move, Demon's Hellfire Wall. Evil Eye can do nothing but watch as her friends perish. Finally, she musters up the courage to charge at the demon, but suddenly a dark figure appears before her and stops her from throwing her life away. Momon had arrived. Evil Eye, having heard of Momon and his feats, requests Momon's help to defeat Jaldabaoth. Unsurprisingly, the valiant adventurer agrees, all part of a plan. Momon proves himself to be Jaldabaoth's equal while defending Evil Eye at the same time. Witnessing such greatness before her very eyes, Evil Eye seems to have developed romantic feelings for Momon. Seriously, girl, your friends literally burned to a crisp like a few minutes ago. Can you stop simping for someone, at least? After a few moments of sparring, Jaldabaoth eventually leaves the fight, claiming to search for an item within the city, and that he will guard the region the item is in. While Evil Eye wants to follow him, Momon decides not to. He lies that despite looking equal in battle, Jaldabaoth was actually holding back, so he might be much stronger than what he appears to be. Meanwhile, Brain and Climb and another dude named Lockmire, don't ask me, he's not important, are escorting Tare, or who they think is Tare, out when they encounter Zero, who challenges Brain to a fight. Together, Lockmire and Climb manage to defeat Succulent disguised as Tare, while Brain and Zero prove that they are evenly matched. Sebas, after rescuing the real Tare, wanders in and discovers the fight. To the disbelief of Zero, Sebas states that the 6 arms were all killed. Enraged, Zero abandons his fight with Brain and unleashes his strongest attack on Sebas, who takes it without flinching. Sebas then ends Zero with a single dropkick. What an absolute Chad. The butler then leaves with Tare, promising to return the debt he owes to Climb and Brain for their assistance in her rescue. A circle of fire created by Jaldabaoth emerges within the city and is seen by everyone. Princess Renner arranges for the adventurers and the soldiers to enter the ring and kill the demons present inside, while Climb, Brain, and Lockmire attempt to save the citizens, while Momon, Nabe, and Evil Eye are to move into the center to fight Jaldabaoth. The shrewd princess intends to use the adventurers and soldiers as cannon fodder, while Momon's group moves in to kill Jaldabaoth. Yeah, she isn't your usual Disney princess type, is she? The girl is going to cause some major trouble later on. The Adventure Coalition moves in to rescue the captured civilians in the residential sector, while the Royal Guards hold back a wave of demons until Momon, Nabe, and Evil Eye arrive. Among the chaos, Brain notices a distinguished Shaltir. He suddenly freezes in his tracks, but then remembers that this might be the only chance to redeem his honor, as well as give his friends a chance at winning. He challenges Shaltir in order to give his comrades time to escape. Shaltir is not too excited to battle a weakling and approaches him with the same bored attitude as before. This time, though, Brain manages to cut Shaltir's fingernail with 4-fold slash of light, takes this small feat as a victory against his foe, and happily retreats while she's distracted. Brain, Climb, and Lockmire find a warehouse of civilians and are faced with the people pleading for their taken loved ones. As Momon, Nabe, and Evil Eye encounter Jaldabaoth, they see his 5 masked demon maids. While the female adventurers handle the maids, Momon battles Jaldabaoth. The battle between the strongest takes them into an abandoned building where they can finally let go of their ruse. Demiurge and Ainz speak in private to discuss Demiurge's full plan. All blame is to be laid on Jaldabaoth in order to boost Momon's fame. That way, they get all the humans as well as Momon's reputation growing ever so largely. On the other hand, as Evil Eye fights, a hidden Nerberol calmly chats with 3 of her sisters. As Mari gives the earthquake signal, the maids return to their intended roles. Evil Eye regroups with Nabe, and Jaldabaoth is thrust into the scene by Momon. Jaldabaoth calls for a retreat, and the disturbance comes to an end. The adventurers and soldiers gather and hail Momon, a hero of the kingdom. Elsewhere, Aura captures the remaining 8 Fingers leaders and makes them servants to Ainz Ol Gaun. In the Baharuth Empire, Flunder Paradine informs Emperor Jerkniv Rune that while investigating Ainz Ol Gaun, he concludes the magic caster is greater than or equal to his level of magic power. While wishing to meet Ainz personally, Jerkniv orders Flunder to investigate adamantite adventurer Momon as well. That's it for Season 2. If this video gets 3,000 likes, I know you guys like this anime, and I'll continue to Part 3. Thanks for watching.